So today, Donald Trump hosted a Medal of Honor ceremony at the White House to recognize 3 genuinely extraordinary soldiers, 2 of them awarded after death, including Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds, a World War II prisoner of war who protected over 200 Jewish American prisoners by ordering all 1,200 Americans to step forward and telling a Nazi officer, pointing a gun at his head point blank, "We are all Jews." Before any of that could happen, he used the opening of the ceremony, day 3 of the U.S. being at war with Iran, to deliver a combat operations update and pivot to the construction status of his $400 million White House ballroom, because apparently there's no ceremony serious enough that it can't also double as a sales pitch for real estate. He complains about pile drivers keeping his wife up at night and promises them the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world, which is exactly the America First playbook that nobody in 2026 should be surprised is now a thing we're doing. Let's watch him, and I will give you my take at the end, as usual.
And thank everybody for being here, and please feel free to sit. So before we begin this important ceremony, and there's no ceremony that can be much more important than this, let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped. But everybody was behind us. They just didn't have the courage to say so. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people. Our country itself would be under threat, and it was very nearly under threat. I was very proud to have knocked out the Iran nuclear deal by President Barack Hussein Obama. That was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them. But I'll not let that happen. For almost 47 years, this regime has been attacking the United States and killing Americans. Every time you see someone with missing arms and legs or a face that's been absolutely shattered violently, it was almost certainly caused by an Iran roadside bomb. They were put there by General Soleimani, who was the father of the roadside bomb. Very proudly, he thought, but I terminated him in my first term. This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime. And they are indeed sick and sinister. Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their Navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon, never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out. And they came back, and we thought we had a deal, and they backed out. I said, you can't deal with these people. You've got to do it the right way. Today, we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action and send our love and support to their families. In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people, and a threat indeed it is. We have the strongest and most powerful, by far, military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, if the president wants to do it really quickly, after that he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this. Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General. I think there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think he'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now, I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through. We also projected 4 weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there by a lot. But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We have a lot of great service members here with us, too, in this beautiful building. Isn't it beautiful? We're adding on to the building a little bit. We're improving the building. See that nice drape? When that comes down, right now you see a very, very deep hole. But in about 1.5 years from now, you're going to see a very, very beautiful building. And there's your entrance to it right there. In fact, it looks so nice, I think I'll save money on the doors, because it can't get more beautiful than that. I picked those drapes in my first term. I always like gold, but I think we can save a lot of money. I just saved curtains. But and it'll be spectacular. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom. I believe it's because I built many a ballroom. I believe it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world. And when you hear all that hammering out there, you know why the First Lady is not thrilled exactly. She said, will the pile drivers ever stop? You know, they go from 6 in the morning till 11:30 in the evening. Can you imagine? Here? You know what? To me, that's a beautiful sound. She doesn't like it. I love it. You know what? To me, other than here, because we're donating it, not a penny to the taxpayer. It'll be under budget, ahead of schedule. It'll be $400 million or less. Most people say $400 million or more. No, it'll be less. But when I hear that sound, that beautiful sound behind me, it means money, so I like it. But my wife isn't thrilled. She said, this is getting crazy. I said, don't worry about it. We'll be all finished up in a few months.
Here's what you didn't know, or maybe you do. First, on the war itself. Operation Epic Fury began with strikes on February 28th, and notably, he announced the attacks in a Truth Social post at 2 in the morning. With no address to the media or public briefing to Congress beyond a notification to the Gang of 8. That's 8 senior lawmakers who get secret briefings. That group of 8 people is the full extent of Congress's involvement in a war the president himself just told you could last 4 to 5 weeks and might include ground troops. CNN confirmed that the full Congress has not received a briefing on Iran, and while Secretary Rubio did notify Gang of 8 members, those top lawmakers were not given a complete explanation of why this was legal. Representative Warren Davidson, a Republican and former Army Ranger who served in the elite 75th Ranger Regiment, put it this way. And I want you to hear this because it came from a member of his own party. War requires congressional authorization, he said, adding that he did not support the president's action. Now, he said in the clip we just watched that Iran ignored warnings and started rebuilding their nuclear program after Operation Midnight Hammer last June. But here's the receipt on that. As Time reports, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, also a Republican, noted that the debate was still ongoing over whether Operation Midnight Hammer had truly dismantled Iran nuclear capabilities at all. It's a year later, and we're still trying to decide that, Murkowski said. So we launched a brand new war to finish a job he declared finished, twice. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries specifically called out the contradiction, questioning why Trump felt the need to launch new strikes when he had previously declared that the June 2025 strikes completely and totally obliterated, meaning wiped out entirely, Iran nuclear program. That's not a partisan attack. That's a factual question about a statement Trump made in this exact building, on the Ballroom. He said the construction is being done not a penny to the taxpayer. And technically, it is being funded by private donors. But here's the part they're not telling you. Multiple outlets have reported that donors to his ballroom include Palantir, Lockheed Martin, and Meta. Palantir and Lockheed Martin are defense contractors. Companies that get paid by the military and make more money the more the country goes to war, and they just donated to the president's personal construction project right before he launched one. I'm sure that's fine. Totally normal. Senator Elizabeth Warren called the ballroom a vehicle for corruption, meaning a tool being used to funnel money from powerful companies straight to the president. And the cost has doubled since it was announced. Initially estimated at $200 million in the summer, raised to $300 million by October, and now sitting at $400 million as of December. Under budget and ahead of schedule, he says, as the number goes up. The good news is, he saved money on curtains. Here's what you can tell people. He started a war he said was already won, without asking Congress, announced it on Truth Social at 2 in the morning, and then delivered the update at a ceremony for men who actually sacrificed everything, while his ballroom donors include the defense contractors now getting contracts from the war he just described. So what does this mean, practically, for the people watching this video? The man who runs the most powerful military on earth just announced American service members are dying in a war 4 now, up from 3 confirmed by CENTCOM just yesterday, as CBS News confirmed he won't rule out ground troops, and the operation could last 5 weeks. And the main tool Congress has to pump the brakes on, this is something called a War Powers Resolution vote. Basically a vote that can force the president to stop or get permission to keep going, scheduled for later this week, that, as of now, doesn't have the votes to pass. That means you personally have no elected representative with any real power to actually stop this. It's a little like finding out your roommate signed a lease on a new apartment for both of you and called it a notification when he texted you from the cab. And the institutional stakes here are genuinely significant. Legal experts cited by Northeastern University note that America's ability to produce and supply weapons was already stretched thin before this conflict, and every day the fighting goes on makes that worse. We can run low on what our military needs faster than people think. History, these same experts note, shows that U.S. and Western military missions aimed at overthrowing foreign governments are costly, messy, and virtually impossible without boots on the ground. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, the list exists. We have the receipts. The Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, published an analysis today describing the current conflict as likely the start of a prolonged conflict that has already spread across the Middle East, involving strikes in more than half a dozen countries within the first few hours. And for what exactly? To prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, the same goal he declared achieved last June. To protect American lives, the same Americans who are now dying in the operation. To eliminate a terrorist regime, the same regime he previously said he could deal with, right up until they walked away from negotiations that were reportedly going well. The Arms Control Association documented that just hours before he launched the attack, negotiators from the country of Oman who were acting as a neutral go-between reported the talks were serious and a real deal was within reach if both sides kept negotiating honestly. We walked away from a deal to start a war to get the deal, and we announced it at 2 in the morning on Truth Social. At least the ballroom will be beautiful. Ilya Somin, a law professor at George Mason University and a scholar at the Cato Institute, that's a libertarian organization, meaning they lean toward less government power, not more, so this is not coming from the political left, said, "This is very obviously a war." You don't have to take my word for that. He himself says it's a war. Soman added that while he wouldn't mourn the Iranian regime's fall, the war being waged violates the Constitution. When the Cato Institute and Rand Paul and Thomas Massie are all saying the same thing as the Democrats, it's worth at least acknowledging they might be onto something. I know, unanimous agreement in 2026 feels suspicious. I get it. Here's where things stand right now. As of today, he has declined to rule out ground troops, confirmed 4 American service members have now been killed, and says the campaign could last 5 weeks, while Congress scrambles to hold a vote that may not succeed in limiting any of it. The Senate and House are both scheduled to take up war powers resolutions this week. One's with support from both parties, authored by Republicans Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, and Democrats Ro Khanna and Tim Kaine, and there is a real chance they still fail. This isn't about whether Iran was a genuine threat or whether the regime is as bad as he says it is. It's about whether a president can simply announce a war on social media in the middle of the night, show up at a Medal of Honor ceremony 3 days later to give updates, pivot to his ballroom, and face no real, enforceable consequences from anyone, while the families of Roddy Edmonds and Michael Allis sit in the front row. The AP noted today that he celebrated heroes of old wars as he defended his launch of a new one. That's about as sharp a summary of the contradiction as you can get in 10 words. Master Sergeant Edmonds looked a Nazi in the eye with a gun at his forehead and said, "We are all Jews. The least we could do is make sure his ceremony was about him." And for the record, if this ballroom does come in under $400 million, I will personally eat one of those gold drapes. I always liked gold. If you found this helpful, make sure to like the video, share it with someone who needs to see it, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your support really helps more than you know and keeps this content going. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.